Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Richard Isaac Fine. I live in Los Angeles, California, and I am presently a strategic consultant engaged in the fields of abuse of power, anti-corruption, judicial corruption, political corruption, international matters, and litigation and legal oversight matters. I'm the chairman and founder of the Campaign for Judicial Integrity and the Consul General for the Kingdom of Norway in Southern California, now retired. Commencing in 1999 and continuing through the present, I was illegally targeted and retaliated against by corrupt California constitutional state-elected judges who took illegal payments, which are defined as bribes in California Penal Code Section 7, from Los Angeles County and other counties and courts. The targeting and retaliation occurred in 4 phases in direct response to my activities. The first phase was to illegally remove all my income that I earned from class action and taxpayer cases from 1996 onwards to stop my ability to fight current cases and economically survive. The second phase was to illegally remove my ability to practice law and stop me from bringing cases against the judges to stop the illegal payments, to stop me from challenging the judges for taking illegal payments in current cases in which I was fighting LA County and its co-defendants, in which the LA taxpayers could earn approximately $1 billion from the LA supervisors who would be exposed for making illegal votes in favor of developer contributors to their political campaigns. The third phase was to illegally incarcerate me to stop me from fighting and to deter others from challenging the illegal actions of the judges and the counties with respect to those illegal payments. And the fourth phase was the judges and others perverting and obstructing justice and committing fraud upon the court by making false statements in court documents, refusing to disclose the payments, refusing to disqualify themselves as required by law, and refusing to set aside the void disbarment after the state bar admitted to the disbarment being a fraud and did not oppose my motion to void the disbarment based upon the fraud upon the court. This targeting and retaliation occurred as a direct result of my actions to clean up the corruption in government and the judiciary, and in particular, the courts of the state of California. Now, as a little bit of background, one wonders, how do you get into the, quote, business of cleaning up corruption? And what type of person gets into this? In my case, I was fortunate. I was fortunate enough to have been given opportunities from an early age to acquire unique experiences and training to prepare me for this ongoing fight against corruption, even though at the time that I was gaining these experiences, I did not know what was in for me in the future. One has to go back to education. Academically, I started out with a Bachelor of Science at the University of Wisconsin, a Doctor of Law from the University of Chicago Law School, a PhD in International Law from the University of London, the London School of Economics and Political Science, a Diplôme d'études supérieures de droit comparé from the Faculté internationale pour l'enseignement de droit comparé in Strasbourg, France, a Certificate of Comparative Law from the International University of Comparative Science in Luxembourg, certificates of Public and Private International Law from the Hague Academy of International Law in The Hague. After completing my education in 1967, I engaged in legal practice in London, England for Couder Brothers. I then went to the United States Department of Justice Antitrust Division in Washington, D.C. I subsequently became the special counsel to the Government Efficiency Committee for the LA City Council, the founder-in-chief of the first municipal antitrust division in the United States for the LA City Attorney's Office, and then in 1974 founded the law offices of Richard I. Fine and Associates. Part of my professional affiliations during this particular period of time were the B&A Antitrust Advisory Board in Washington, D.C., the founder and the chairman of the Antitrust Section of the LA County Bar, the founder and chairman of the Trade Regulation and Law Section of the State Bar of California, the chairman of the International Law Section of the LA County Bar, the founder of the International Law Committee of the California State Bar, a member of the Executive Council of the American Society of International Law, a distinguished visitor to the Claremont Graduate University School of Religion, and a member of the Visiting Committee of the University of Chicago Law School. I had numerous publications on international and comparative law, and I received various certificates of special congressional recognition, California State Assembly Certificate of Recognition, the California State Board of Equalization Resolution Certificate of Recognition, Lawyer of the Decades, and a Champion of Court Reform. During the same period of time as practical training, from 1964 through approximately 2011, I was a member of the bar of at least one state or jurisdiction. And during that period of time as a lawyer, I practiced international and comparative law in London, indicted and prosecuted General Motors and Ford for price fixing, investigated the pulp, paper, and newsprint international cartel for international price fixing, investigated international mergers, represented the Department of Justice in its first appearance before the Tariff Commission, which later became the International Trade Commission, led the investigation of former LA Mayor Sam Miordi and additional city administrator officers for government corruption. As I stated before, established the first municipal antitrust division in the United States, specialized in antitrust, international and comparative law, class actions, diplomatic and sovereign immunity, terrorism, and government and judicial abuse of power, litigated the case of IAM versus OPEC, which was the case against the OPEC nations for affecting United States gas prices, and advised governments and international entities, litigated the first terrorist shooting and killing at a U.S. airport, which occurred at LAX in 2002, changed the way United Way functioned by requiring it to allow donors to designate the charities to which their donations would go, reorganized the California consumer service industry by requiring manufacturers to pay legal prices for warranty service, reorganized a 1 million person religion worldwide, forced the California local governments to return $1 billion of illegally used funds to California taxpayers, exposed and prosecuted illegal payments to California judges, and closed down the California state government and required it to have authorization before paying anyone, including the governor, the state legislatures, and the judges, thereby ending 26 years of political budget crises, amongst other cases. Now, with that type of a background, needless to say, somewhere along the line, I would run into corruption in the judiciary. And it occurred in the following way. In 1999, after I had closed down the government in 1998, I was involved in 3 cases against LA County. Now, mind you, at this point in time, I was not aware that LA County was making illegal payments to the judges. These cases were as follows. One of the cases was called Veltman versus the County of Los Angeles. And in this case, I tried and won a judgment against LA County, which stopped it from taking $100 million of funds from the Transportation Fund and borrowing $150 million. LA County claimed that it had a medical crisis and it needed the money for hospitals. Judge Richard Hubble said, "You don't have a medical crisis, you have a management crisis. You don't know how to manage your money." And I won the judgment, stopping $250 million of taxpayer money to go to LA County. The second case was Amjadi and Lakeos versus LA County, in which LA County had been taking $45 million a year in environmental funds, which are restaurant fees, fees if you want to build a swimming pool or any other environmental thing, and taking that money, which was supposed to go to an environmental fund, and putting it into the general fund. I got an injunction, stopped that money, created a special fund for the environmental fees, took $11 million that LA County still had in their general fund, put it into the special fund, froze all the environmental fees, and as of the present time, $500 million has now been put into the environmental fund for environmental purposes. And in addition to that, the result is that restaurant charges and other environmental fees remained stable, because the injunction also said that LA County couldn't raise any environmental fees until that $11 million was used up. So at this point, LA County was losing $300 million. The third case was a case in which called Silva versus District Attorney Gil Garcetti, in which the district attorney was illegally withholding $14 million of child support money, which was supposed to be going to the women and children. I sued to get that money back. The county was now on the hook for $314 million. They wanted to do something. And what was that something going to be? That something was to use the judges who they were paying to go against me. And what did they do? It ended up that when the first case, the Veltman case, went into the Court of Appeal, Judge J. Stephen Zuliger, who was an LA Superior Court judge getting illegal money, was on the Court of Appeal. They didn't disclose that. That case got reversed. In the second case, when I wanted attorney's fees for that $45 million, the judge didn't give it to me. And in the third case, after the head of the LA Department of Child Support Services admitted that they were illegally taking the money, Judge Chalfant, who was also getting money from LA County, dismisses the case. And we go into the appeal, and Judge Catherine Doyd Todd, who was a former LA Superior Court judge, didn't admit that she was taking LA money. Her friends on the court, the other two judges, Boren and Knott, who also knew that she was taking the money, didn't admit it, and they hold to that refusal to give the fees. Now, the other thing that happens, however, becomes more pernicious. Within 6 months of my winning these verdicts, a commissioner by the name of Bruce Mitchell, who was illegally sitting in a case called the Flores versus EHD, where I won a judgment of settled the case for $9 million and had a $2 million fee coming, decides that he wants to cut me out of the fee. Now, first of all, he doesn't even have the right to sit on the case. He's also getting illegal money from LA County. But he wants to remove me from the case, and beyond that, then goes on to remove me or decertify a class in every class action case in which I am sitting, thereby cutting off money that I had earned from 1996 onwards. Now, this is phase one of the retaliation.